Welcome to a new video on the channel, Minds That Made History. In this video, we will talk about one of the most prominent figures in the world of finance and investment, whose economic decisions changed the course of financial and political history worldwide. He is George Soros, the legendary businessman and investor whose story cannot be reduced to just numbers and profits. From a beginner in the financial market to one of the most controversial figures in investment history, Soros gained widespread fame through his bold financial moves, earning him the title, the Man of Money. But his story doesn't stop there. He is also the owner of a political and social philosophy that expresses his belief in an open world and equality. In this video, we will delve into the details of George Soros's life, discovering how he started, how he became one of the richest men in the world, and the ideas that shaped his journey, both in the financial markets and in philanthropy. Let's discover together how Soros became one of the most influential figures of our modern era. George Soros was born on August 12, 1930, in Budapest, Hungary, into a Jewish family, at a time when the world was suffering from the horrors of World War II. George lived through a bitter struggle in his childhood due to the Nazi occupation of Hungary. He grew up in a period full of dangers and threats, where his family was constantly at risk from the Nazis. For this reason, his family had to live under false identities to save their lives. This type of difficult experience shaped George Soros's character and gave his life a unique perspective on the world and crises. This dark period in his life had a significant impact on him, especially in his dealings with crises and the financial decisions he made later in life. He developed a somewhat pessimistic view of authoritarian regimes, which led him to develop a philosophy advocating for democracy and openness. After the end of World War II, George and his family emigrated to London in 1947. There, he began his studies at the London School of Economics, where he specialized in philosophy. However, his encounter with philosopher Karl Popper was one of the most important events in his life. Popper was promoting the idea of the open society and human rights, and his ideas greatly influenced Soros, prompting him to transition from philosophy to the world of finance. George Soros began his financial career in 1954 at Singer and Friedlander Bank in London, where he started developing new ideas on how to read financial markets. However, the real turning point in his life came when he moved to New York in 1956, where he worked at FM Mayer. This period was filled with challenges, but during it, he learned financial strategies that would later become the foundation of his success. In 1969, Soros founded his first hedge fund, which he named Double Eagle, marking the beginning of his stellar career in finance. Despite his humble beginnings, he followed a unique approach based on analyzing markets in an unconventional way. He believed that markets do not always behave based on facts but can be driven by human ideas and emotions. This deep understanding of financial markets is what enabled him to achieve massive profits. In 1992, George Soros gained worldwide fame when he bet against the British pound in an event known as Black Wednesday. On that day, Soros made $1 billion by betting against the British currency. This event became a symbol of the power of his financial strategies and highlighted his unconventional investment mentality. This event changed the course of Soros's life, as it gave him a massive influence on international financial markets. But this success was not just a coincidence, it was the result of his deep understanding of market mechanisms and his study of the economic and psychological factors affecting investors. He believed that markets do not always work rationally but are influenced by emotions and false beliefs. One of George Soros's major contributions is the theory of reflexivity. This theory states that financial markets do not always behave logically, but investors react to markets based on their expectations, which may be incorrect. This leads to illogical price fluctuations, which can cause an economic bubble or a sudden collapse. Soros pointed out that markets are influenced by people's expectations, leading to rapid and unexpected actions that can result in drastic changes in the economy. This idea posed a major challenge to traditional economic theories that assume markets are always efficient and function based on available information. Despite his massive success in finance, George Soros was not only an investor. He played a major role in philanthropy, founding the Open Society Foundations in 1993. The foundation aimed to support democracy and human rights worldwide, as well as initiatives that promote freedom of expression and equality. Through this foundation, Soros supported numerous projects worldwide, particularly in countries suffering under authoritarian regimes. It was always believed that George Soros was not just a skilled investor but also someone striving to improve the world. However, he was also a controversial figure, facing intense criticism from some due to his significant influence on political affairs. Some critics believe that Soros uses his wealth to influence governments and intervene in the internal affairs of countries. But despite these criticisms, the fact remains that Soros was one of the key figures who helped shape many global policies. George Soros's impact on global politics cannot be denied, as his investments and financial plans influenced many governments and economies. When we talk about George Soros in the world of finance, it is important to mention other big names like Warren Buffett, who relies on long-term investment strategies in major companies. While Buffett preferred to buy companies with long-term value, Soros relied more on psychological analysis of the markets, focusing on the right timing for financial moves. One of the most prominent features of Soros' style was that he bet on future predictions, believing that markets are influenced by human emotions, which can cause illogical fluctuations. This makes him different from investors like Buffett, who follow more conservative investment strategies. Beyond Black Wednesday, there were other crises where Soros demonstrated his unique strategies in analyzing the markets. In 1997, during the Asian financial crisis, Soros was one of the investors who bet against the currencies of some major Asian countries. Although this move was controversial, it showed his insight into predicting global economic fluctuations. He also played a pivotal role in determining new ways for governments to deal with these crises, emphasizing the importance of letting markets act freely to correct themselves. Among the investment tools George Soros used, fundamental analysis and technical analysis were part of his approach to understanding the markets. However, what distinguishes Soros is his reliance on behavioral analysis, to understand how investors react to markets based on their emotions and expectations. This approach enabled Soros to make bold investment decisions. In addition, his strategies were based on unconventional market analysis, which made his investments yield huge profits. For example, during the Asian financial crisis, he had a different vision of the financial situation in some countries, which led him to engage in currency fluctuations. In addition to his influence in the financial world, George Soros was an active political activist. Through his organization, the Open Society Foundation, Soros significantly contributed to spreading democracy and human rights in many countries around the world. In Eastern Europe after the collapse of the Soviet Union, he had a significant impact on helping many countries transition to democracy. He also supported many educational and human rights movements in countries such as Hungary and Eastern Russia. This philanthropic work made Soros a central figure in changing the course of many political regimes. But George Soros did not go without criticism. He has faced many attacks from right-wing groups and some governments due to his political activities. Some accused him of trying to impose a liberal political agenda on governments through his investments and charitable foundation. At times, he was portrayed as the man behind the scenes, manipulating global events for his own agenda. However, it is important to note that many of these accusations were based on conspiracy theories that were not proven to be true. Additionally, he is sometimes accused of indirect influence in global politics, which led some to see him as the maker of crises, through his influence on financial markets. His story is full of valuable lessons for investors and social activists. The first lesson that can be learned from George Soros is that risk is not always harmful if it is based on thorough examination and analysis. Although Soros made some decisions that might seem risky, his strategic thinking made them achieve great success for him. The second lesson is the importance of psychological market analysis and investor expectations. Soros understood well that markets do not always move according to facts but are significantly affected by emotions and false beliefs. Finally, through his charitable work and support for democracy and human rights, we can learn the importance of investing money in creating positive social changes. George Soros showed the world that one person can make a huge difference in the economy and politics through investments and innovative ideas. Whether you agree or disagree with his ideas, his impact on modern history cannot be ignored. In the end, George Soros remains one of the most fascinating figures of our modern era, with a lasting legacy in finance, politics, and philanthropy. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button and leave your comment, and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content. Follow us on social media to keep up with all the latest updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.